just the improvement of situations as opposed to always getting just more and more news that makes us worry or makes us be concerned that the problems are escalating. I can also tell you that Upper Mzansi, we are problem solvers, but hey, we also create a lot of those ourselves. Before we get to current affairs, though, KNR Cares, in partnership with helping those in need, is looking for your help in achieving the success of the Winter Warmth Drive 2022. We plead with you to search those boxes and storage bags because someone out there really needs anything warm that you may have just sitting there and gathering dust. Winter is no joke when you have nowhere to go to protect you from the cold. We know how lonely it gets or can get when the elements are working against your well-being. During these tough times, we are attempting to collect 1,000 items to be handed over on the 31st of June 2022. Drop your donation items at Keith Gessie Radio, 68 Donald Road, Vincent, opposite game at Vincent Park. And we would love to see these collection stacks grow every day to ensure that as many children, women, and men get to realize a warmer and better winter. Let's make it happen together for those we refuse to leave out in the cold. Helping those in need because KNR cares. Good morning and welcome to it. Let's check out those current affairs.
We're social. Check us out on Facebook.
At Keith Gessie Radio.
Right. Mayoral Committee members for Safety and Security in the city, J.P. Smith, said the planned protest by Taxi Association, the Cape Amalgamated Taxi Association, or TATA, and Cape Organization for the Democratic Taxi Association, CODETA, had been approved. A march would take place from Hanover Street to the provincial legislature on Wales Street. Now, there have been reports of buses set alight in Nyanga, as well as taxis blocking the N2 roadway in the vicinity of Khayelitsha and Kraaifontein. Emergency service and policing agencies are on the scene. Golden Arrow Bus Services said in an alert to commuters posted on its Facebook page, unfortunately, it's been a rough morning across Cape Town. There have been incidents targeting our buses, and as such, people must beware that we may have to take diversions and other difficult safety-related decisions. Preliminary reports from the scene on the bus incident indicated some commuters had been injured. Members of the public were encouraged to report any emergencies to the city's Public Emergency Communication Center on 021-480-7700. Please be careful out there. All our people in the Western Cape, if you do find out anything, please give us a shout on our WhatsApp voice note, 0659702707. Sikwazi nokucebisa abanye and give them izilumkiso esi, which are obviously a very much priority going on as this is a developing story. The Ministry and Department of the International Relations and Cooperation have noted the interim order granted the Pretoria High Court by the Pretoria High Court, pausing implementation of the humanitarian aid South Africa had agreed it would provide the Republic of Cuba, she said. We are studying the judgment as an interim order. There will be a return to court in 20 days' time. We are consulting our legal representatives and preparing our heads of argument. We want to make it clear that the African Renaissance Fund does not provide money to any beneficiary. We provide humanitarian aid, be it food, medical supplies, or other forms of support. No money is provided, and the funds lie within the budget of the Department of the International Relations and Cooperation and no other department. Nevertheless, we are preparing to return to court, said the minister. AfriForum had brought the court application to hold payment of the funds pending an application at a later date to review and set aside the decision to donate the amount. It argued that the entire process from the application to the approval granted for the donation was flawed. They are talking about the 50 million rand that the department wanted to hand over in aid to a suffering Cuba, but others were saying we need that money right here on the ground in Mzansi far more than what is going on in Cuba. But because much more is also happening, and our people are also starving. Still in politics, There is an extinction event asteroid hurtling towards South Africa's democracy, and we're far from paying enough attention to it. It took the coming within an inch of World War III to pry our national focus from our build-up to the most important political event of 2022, albeit temporary. With the 55th elective conference of the ANC set to take place in December, and one of the factions having fired open salvos at early as January, it won't be long before we see the South Africa's political war games reignited. While we can debate that the conference boils down to two candidates who are so far President Cyril Ramaphosa versus whoever gets the nod from the RET faction, that is the rapid economic transformation, and we can deliberate further on the likelihood of the RET's win, it's almost certainly higher than you think. Let's for a moment indulge in a bit of the scenario planning for the state in the media in an RET-controlled state. Unlike political analysts and business people whose scenarios planning might result in worrisome spreadsheets and a higher cost of capital, the real-world impact is such an outcome for freedom of speech and functioning democracy with it will be catastrophic. The lives and livelihoods of media practitioners are in the crosshairs of the RET faction should they come to power. Analysts can afford to be optimistic, yet possibly wrong. What's left of the news media, don't have that luxury, according to what is being read. So they're saying there's some worrying signs. South Africa's official response to the invasion and war in the Ukraine has been, at the very least, schizophrenic. Abstaining from the UN General Assembly vote and failing to condemn the clear act of unprovoked war has put us in the global minority. Does Russia have dirt on South Africa's ruling elite? What else could incentivize such moves? It is in the end inconsequential. What we do know is that Russian influence in our politics and over our politicians will spill over into how the ANC's RET faction deals with the pesky free freedom media problem. Consider the Films and Publication Amendment Act 11 of 2019, which came into effect on the 1st of March. This piece of legislation was proposed in the Zuma years, which requires all online video content to be rated in the way movies and games carry an age rating. News publishers and social media platforms are now required to submit every video for classification, apply for the self-classification license that would cost up to 2 million rand. The only way to describe that is complete lunacy. This is all according to what is being written and how it's being interpreted. Is that where we're heading? Well, one can only hope that a clear direction will be making itself soon clear. 27 minutes now after 9 a.m. Last week, the ANC's National Working Committee gave the first indication that it was possible the party's top leadership would formally disband the leadership structures of the ANC Women's League. There is still no formally elected leadership for the ANC Youth League, while the MKMVA has been formally disbanded. At the time of 8 of the party's 9 provinces still have to hold conferences and elect leadership this year. Many would call it a mess. It certainly appears that there is a very real weakness within many, perhaps all, of the ANC structures, and that unless there is some kind of radical action, this weakness will simply perpetuate itself, making the party's organization shakier than ever before the National Elective Conference. It could be argued that since then, the League has had a negligible influence in our politics. It has not been at the forefront of issues of women, its voice on gender-based violence, and its issues such as social grants and the pandemic generally has not been heard aloud by our society. Too many in South African society, the Women's League say that the Women's League is a non-factor these days. Meanwhile, the ANC Youth League last had an elected leadership in 2018. That leadership was disbanded in the aftermath of the 2017 Nasrec conference. Its leader at the time, Colin Maine, was widely seen as the figure of no legitimacy and consequence. He had been in the pay of the Guptas and used talking points about white monopoly capital he received from the now disgraced, destroyed, and thankfully defunct reputation management firm Bell Pottinger. The League has been run by a national task team that has tried to take into elective and in conference. Unless there's a decisive event in the near future, it is entirely possible that by the time the ANC holds its national conference, both these leagues will not have elected leadership. Ouch. In the past, this was not the case. The Youth League in particular was known to make political running to be capable of mobilizing support for the candidate. The role of Fikile Mbalula then and the leader of the ANC Youth League was hugely important in the run-up to the elections Polokwane Conference and ultimately election of Jacob Zuma as ANC president. Meanwhile, two organizations representing the ANC veterans have been disbanded. That is the MKMVA and the MK Council, with a unity conference planned for the next few months. However, the problems of the ANC structures do not end there. At present, 8 of the party's provinces need to hold conferences this year, and some of these may be heavily and angrily contested. The Eastern Cape Conference will see a serious challenge against the Premier Oscar Mabuyane from Babalo Matigizela. In KwaZulu-Natal, former Health Minister Zweli Mkhize appears to be claiming he is being lobbied for a position, whilst Premier Sihle Zikalala may not be re-elected. In Gauteng, Premier David Makura is not running again, leading to a contest between COGTA MEC Lebohang Maile and Deputy Provincial Leader Education Panyaza Lesufi. In Mpumalanga, a complex picture has emerged with violence at the regional conference and possibly as many as 4 factions contesting for power. Northwest has been dogged by consistent problems and has been run by an interim structure for several years. While conditions may be easier in this ANC province, the party may be about to enter a period of dramatic change. We will keep our eye on that because, as being reported, this may be one of the more serious times and crossroads in the political leadership of our nation, given that whatever the decision comes from here may shape the new direction in which this country will be going. And of course, further afield, in this beautiful continent of Africa, Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurated a $2.5 billion fertilizer plant with which Africa's most populous country hopes to contribute the global supply amid the impact of increasing prices in the aftermath of Russia's Ukraine war. During the inauguration of the Dangote fertilizer plant in the commercial capital of Lagos on Tuesday, the Nigerian leader said the nation stands to gain extensively from production at the plant. With the global fertilizer market jolted, Nigeria Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele said that the inauguration of the plant is timely and it has helped Nigeria to solve a perennial fertilizer problem. Agriculture is a lifeline for Nigeria's economy, contributing 25.8% of its $173 billion gross domestic product during 2021. However, farmers are sometimes constrained with the limited supplies of such as fertilizer and improved seedings. The new plant will make Nigeria self-sufficient in fertilizer production with excess of capacity to export to other African markets and the rest of the world, said Dangote. Our goal is to make fertilizer available in sufficient quantity for our teeming farmers, assuring greater agricultural output. Dangote said that the operations in the fertilizer plant.
We are extraterrestrial. We are KNR.
You're listening to the sound.
Sound good together, huh?
On KNR.